Good morning. So I'm back and I'm doing another easy for beginners how to make sourdough bread, and we're gonna do the 4-day process from day one. So I spoke to my sister and my Disney princess friend, and they said my other video had some parts that were like a little confusing and not easy to follow. So we're totally gonna do it and make this easier for you guys. So the first step is if you keep your sourdough starter in the fridge. And I have a video out about how to make a starter if you want to do your very own starter from the beginning, which is a 7-day to a 2-week process. So if you have your own starter and you're ready to go already, you're just going to take your starter out of the fridge. So right now it's in the morning time. I don't even know what time it is. It's 8 o'clock. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my sourdough starter out of the fridge. It's been in there for about a week, so I just want to leave it on the counter until I get home from work. So step one, put your starter on the counter, and if it's already on the counter, you don't have to do anything yet until tonight. Okay, so I'm back from work. It's about 4:45, and I'm taking the fridge sourdough, and it's weak. It doesn't look good. It looks sad. It's super runny. And I'm gonna take half of this, maybe a cup, maybe not even. I'm gonna take half of it and throw it right in the garbage. So whatever amount you have in there, throw half of it out. Some people have a hard time throwing it out, but it's just better because then you can get a healthier yeast this way. So we're just gonna keep that yeast nice and active and just keep it going. So I'm just gonna do a little feed just to get it more active from being in the fridge. And we just want it to be like healthy and bubbly. So that's what I always do the day before I plan on actually mixing to make the bread. So for my measurements, it's gonna be different than what you do probably, because I just have a different mixture. So I'm gonna do, just for a nice light feed, I do 1/4 of a cup of all-purpose white flour, and then I'm gonna do 1/8 of a cup, because that's half the amount of rye. So I do dark rye. I just buy it from the bulk barn, and then I do my 1/8 of a cup, put that in there. And if you want, you can just do straight up whites. Some people like to mix in whole wheat. I like to do the rye, and I only really do it for my starter. And so now I'm gonna take 1/4 cup of water and put that in. So I'm just using filtered fridge water, and it's a bit on the cooler side. And if for some reason you needed your sourdough to be ready faster, you can use a little bit of warmer water, but this is gonna sit all night, so it's good with the cold water. So 1/4 cup was perfect, and this is what it looks like. So you kind of want like, they describe it when I was starting this as a pancake consistency. Although I haven't made pancakes in forever, and that's what I said last time, but we're gonna go with this as a good consistency. If it's a little bit runnier, that's okay. I'd say if it ever gets too runny and you're like, oh shoot, like I overdid it with the water, you're just gonna add in a bit more flour and stir it and just go a little bit at a time. So I'm just gonna let that sit for the night until tomorrow morning. See you then. So we're getting a really late start this morning. It's almost 9 a.m. I'll show you what the sourdough looks like from the little feeding yesterday. This is what the starter looks like. So it's nice and bubbly. You can tell it's active. If yours doesn't look like this and you want to get a good rise out of your bread, you can give it another day of a little feeding. Otherwise, you're good to go. So I'm gonna take half and we're gonna discard half of it in the garbage. So here it is, getting rid of half. And this is what we're left with. So there's not tons in here, maybe almost a cup. So now I'm gonna take, for my mixture personally, and your mixture can be different, so it might just be all white flour. I'm gonna do some white and some rye flour. So this feeding is a little bit bigger because we're gonna be using this tonight to do the actual bread. We're gonna mix like all the ingredients together to make the dough. So this feeding is a little bit bigger because we're gonna need 45 grams of sourdough. So we wanna make sure we have enough. So I'm gonna do 1/2 of a cup of white, and then I'm doing 1/4 cup of dark rye because I'm always doing half the amount rye of white. So if this is you doing this and you're just doing all white flour, you're gonna do 3/4 cups of white flour, and that's it. And now I'm gonna add water to this, and I'm gonna start off with 1/2 of a cup of water. And this is fridge water, it's filtered, so it is on the cooler side. It's actually like cold water. So if you wanted to have this ready earlier, then you might want to use a bit like of a lukewarm water, not like hot water by any means. So I'm just going to give this a stir, and then we'll see if we need to add more water. Some days you might need to add more water, some days it's good. Kind of depends on like the house temperature and any flour and stuff. So this is a little bit too thick. I want a little bit more of a thinner consistency than that. So I did the 1/2 cup of water. Now I'm going to add in the extra 1/4 cup. So for today, I'm doing the exact same amount of flour as I am water, and that's not always the case. I don't usually actually measure it. I kind of just go by texture. So I'll just add a little bit of water at a time. So this texture is a lot better. It's more fluid. So it's kind of dropping off the spoon now. And that's the texture I want. So I'm gonna set this on the counter until tonight when I'm ready to use it. And if you have it in a clear mason jar or whatever you keep it in, as long as it's double, then you're good to go. So it's in its bowl, and all I'm doing is placing a plate on top. That's it. So I have it sitting on the counter. And if for some reason you forgot to like feed your starter dough, like do this part until like a later time and you wanted it ready earlier, you could always, hold please. Well, there's a couple options. You could either put it like in your microwave or your oven with the door open, and then that heat of like the light will help to make it rise faster. Because if you have a really cold house, it's gonna rise slower. Or if you have like a bean bag, you can put it in the microwave. And when you do this, you have to be really careful. So when I do this, I normally place it on the top on here, because before I have done it and I put it in for too long and I put it on the bottom and I ended up cooking the sourdough. So you just want it at a really low temperature. And if you had to, you could put it on the bottom, make sure it's a really low temperature. And then if it's summer too and your house is really hot, it'll rise faster. So maybe you want to wait to feed it until later in the day when you're going to be ready to mix it. Right now, the house is cooler. I think it's like -28 outside today, and the house is on the cooler side. So I know that this isn't going to be ready quickly. It'll probably be ready later tonight when I'm actually ready to do it. But maybe this is too much talking about that because I don't want to make this confusing. So just give your sourdough a feed and then we'll check on it later tonight and then we'll do the next steps. Hey, so we're back and it's about 4:30. I'm going to check out the sourdough starter to see how much it rose. Okay, so it's nice and bubbly and active, and I'd say it's good to go. I'd say it doubled in size. It's nice and airy. We're going to use it. So all you need for this part is a scale, your sourdough starter, flour, whatever flour you're using, and water. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to show you how to do one, but if you were doing multiple, like after I'm done recording, I'm going to do another 5. If you were doing multiple, I like using a single bowl and measuring everything out in that single bowl and putting it into the individual 5 bowls. I just find it easier that way to do like one step at a time. So if you're doing, I recommend sourdough first. If you're doing the sourdough, so you do the sourdough in each bowl first. And then the next step is the flour. You do the flour in each bowl next. Until you're down, and we're gonna check this out. Oh, come on. So I'm gonna put the bowl on first, and now I'm turning the scale on. So the scale is set at 0. So I'm gonna recommend that you're gonna start with your sourdough starter first, just because say if you're doing multiple loaves or even if you're doing 1 loaf and you don't have enough sourdough starter but you didn't know till the end, then it kind of sucks that you don't have enough. But like say you already mixed your flour and your water and your salt and then you go to put the starter in and you realize you don't have enough, then it kind of is like a waste of all the other ingredients, which hasn't happened yet, but it's happened to somebody I know. So I figure it's a good tip. Start with the sourdough starter first. And if you are doing 5 loaves or 6 loaves, then you know that you have enough to go around for all of them, unless you run out of another ingredient, but that's my tip. So the scale's zeroed out. I'm gonna take my starter and I'm gonna stir it. And I'm gonna throw on 45 grams of sourdough starter. And I won't do it for this video, but in other videos, like there was 60 in there, I normally would have left it, but we're gonna do this specific for this video. So we have 45 grams of sourdough starter, and we're gonna take, actually, another tip too, is at this point, after you use your starter for either the 1 or the multiple, make sure you have some set aside because you don't ever run out while you're feeding them all. Make sure you have your 2 tablespoons or a tablespoon set aside and you feed it so that way you just don't run out and run into a situation where you have to start this all over again. So we have the 45 grams of sourdough. We're gonna do 325 grams of water. I'm just doing the wet ingredients first. So this is also another part where you might wanna do it in a separate bowl because if I do more than 325, it's kind of hard to take the water out. I mean, not at this point, but you know what I mean. It's maybe just easier to do it in a bowl and then pour. So we have 325. Now I'm gonna zero out again. I want 9 grams of salt. So we have our 9 grams of salt. This is just a salt, like a sea salt. And the water was filtered fridge water. But if you're finding your house is fairly cold, you might wanna go with a little bit more of like a room temperature water instead. And then the last step, zero that out again, we're gonna do 423 grams of flour. So I'm doing an all-purpose white flour, nothing fancy. I know there are some other flours out there. I think it's King Arthur's, which I've used before, and it has a higher protein content. So you can use whatever flour you prefer. For the purpose of this video, I'm gonna do my all-purpose white flour. And then because for the bread I make, I do prefer to have whole wheat. So the scale is still going, it's at 363, but instead of doing the math for it, you can just pour on until you hit the 423. And I do like the mixture of whole wheat and white. A lot of people, I think, prefer all white for the most part. So this is just a selection whole wheat flour. So we have the 423, it's all good to go. We're gonna turn this right off and move that out of the way. Now, we're just gonna stir this together. I am gonna do my other sourdoughs off screen just because we're gonna keep it to the one. We had a lot of sourdough starter left over, so that feed that we did in the morning was more than enough. So it could probably do another, I'd say 1 or 2 loaves if you wanted to, or you can just toss her out and refeed it and save it for later. So this is kind of like shaggy coming together. I'm just gonna take the rest off the spatula, and then I'm gonna throw a little bit of flour down on the counter, and I'm just gonna make sure it's nicely mixed together. So I think I said in the video, it's about 430 right now. So we just want it nicely mixed. It doesn't have to be like totally kneaded or anything. We just got a little mixture up in there so it's a nice smooth ball. I'm just gonna throw a tiny touch of flour in the bowl just because it's a little sticky, and then I'm just gonna place it in the bowl. So your next step is you're gonna let it sit on the counter for half an hour. You're gonna wanna cover it up. I'm just using this, which is like a lid that can go on, it's a silicone lid. It could go on your pot when you're cooking. I use these lids, they're my favorite. I've gone through a couple different things and this is what works best for me. So I'm just gonna place this on top. There are other options too. One of my friends wets her paper towel and then she puts a hand towel over top of that. And then I do have somebody else I know who uses shower caps. So there's ways to get creative about it. And this is just what I stick with. I'm just gonna leave this on the counter now for about a half an hour and then we'll come back and we're gonna do our first knead or fold. So we are back and it's 5 o'clock. I highly recommend one of these. There's already some dough and flour on it. It's just nice to scrape the counter with, and then if you eventually make other things like bagels and whatnot, it's nice to cut stuff with. So it's been a half an hour. I'm gonna take a little bit of flour that I spilled all over the lid and I'm gonna sprinkle the counter with it. I'm gonna tilt you down so you can check out the fold. So this is fold number 1. You're gonna wanna do 3 folds. Don't mind my mess and my washing machine and dryer going. These are all the other breads that I did, but we're not gonna worry about those guys. We're just gonna do this one. So we're gonna lay it on the flour. It's pretty sticky. I'm just gonna get a little flour on my fingers. And then we're just gonna take, like it's not really a specific shape there. So we made it kind of square. We're gonna take the edge and we're gonna fold it towards the middle. So we're gonna do that for one side, 2 sides, the opposite side, and now we have like a log. And you're gonna take this edge and put it towards the middle, and then you're gonna take this edge and put it towards the middle. So that's our fold. So that's fold number 1. And I'm just kind of rolling it in the flour left on the counter. We're gonna put it back in its little hole, put the lid back on, and we're gonna leave it for half an hour. So we're back and it's 5:30. We're just gonna do the same thing again. So I'm just kind of scraping everything to the side. Grab some flour and do a light dusting. And then we're going to take this guy out, stretch it out a little bit, and then lay it down. And we're gonna fold towards the middle, 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 and middle. And a little roll on the flour. And throw it back in its home. And that's it. See you again in a half an hour. So it is 6 o'clock. It's been a half an hour. You can, if you're ever like, oh, I waited an hour or like got distracted, totally fine. Your dough will turn out good still. So we're stretching her out. And I'm gonna pop down. Same thing. Make sure you just get all the edges into the middle. Sometimes you might have an extra edge to throw down there. And so this would be it. You just give it a little roll in the flour and you're gonna put it down. It doesn't matter how. You could have the folds on the top, you could have the folds on the bottom. It doesn't really matter. So this is what it looks like right now in the bowl, so we can see how much it will grow tomorrow. And then this is it right here. It's a tiny little ball. And we're gonna cover it up. So you're gonna leave that on the counter the whole entire night, and then you're gonna get to it in the morning. Kind of depends when you get to it, but you wanna see it double. Sometimes I found some people, like they find theirs isn't rising as much, so you can always leave it a little bit longer on the counter, or you can do the trick where you put it in the microwave or the oven with the light on. But sometimes mine don't grow double, and I'm not really too concerned about it because it will keep on fermenting and keep on growing a little bit in the fridge once you put it in there, which will be tomorrow's step. So for tonight, leave it on the counter the whole entire night. Right now, I think it's 6 p.m. I said, so it's gonna stay there until I get to it in the morning. See you tomorrow morning. Good morning. So I am starting this much later than I intended. It's a bit after 9:30 in the morning. I usually do this on a work day at 5:30, so this is giving it a lot of extra time to sit, but it worked out perfectly because the rise is awesome. So if you remember what it looked like last night, and it's definitely more than doubled, it's beautiful, it's perfect. So on a work week, I would normally have not let it sit out this long. It all depends on your house temperature and the timing and your sourdough starter and how that like rised as well. Like there's a lot of things that it kind of depends on. And if mine doesn't turn out as big, I still go through with the whole process. I still cook it. You might just not have as airy of a loaf or as big as a loaf. But for this one, it's worked out really well. It's like -28 outside right now, but the house is warmer. It's not like freezing cold. So on a work week, I normally would be doing this process at 5:30 in the morning, so it wouldn't have had as long on the counter to rise. And then also during a work week, I would not have mixed it as early as I did yesterday because I'd still be at work. So it's just like a lot of little factors that can change things. You just kind of play around with it, and some days you'll get a bigger rise and some days you won't, but it's all good. You can see the rise of all these guys too. They got nice and big. Same thing, I just did extras. The counter, I wiped it off because the cat likes to walk all over everything in the middle of the night. And I'm just throwing a little bit of flour down. And for this, I'm using a silicone. This is my favorite. Everybody has different ways of doing things. I'm just gonna put flour inside. So you have those wicker baskets you can use. I don't like them. I find them kind of hard to clean, and I just don't like the buildup it gets. And I find they smell kind of weird. So this is what my preferred is. I have two different versions. It's like the same thing. These ones are from Amazon. I think these were from Canadian Tire maybe. And I do have glass ones I use as well just because I don't have enough. The glass works as well, but when these guys are ready to come out, like you'll see in the morning, you flip them out. Like these are so perfect. They just slide right out. And if they don't, you can give it a little push. Whereas with the glass ones, I find they get really stuck to the edges and then you kind of have to scoop it, which is fine. It doesn't really change the bread that much, so you're still good. And I'm gonna take this guy, actually get some flour on my fingers first, and I'm just gonna scrape the edges to get the dough loose. I want all that dough. Don't leave any behind. Leave no man behind. Okay, so we got that there. And we're gonna do the same thing we did yesterday. I'm just putting a little bit more flour around. So you're gonna take each edge. So we're taking this edge, we're folding it to the middle, to the middle, to the middle, and to the middle. So when I do this, there's kind of some edges here that I feel like didn't get to the middle. So I do just put them all in kind of until like you can see the bubbles there, like nice overnight. What a good one. It's nice when it works out for a video, but it's also kind of nice when things go wrong, so we could go over that. Not much would go wrong other than the rise, but you can see like, look at that nice little bubble. Okay, so we have flour, and if you're using a glass one, I recommend what I used to do is I would take my loaf or dough, and I have this huge flour bin right here, and I would take the lid off of this, and I would kind of just like put it inside and roll it around to make sure it was fully covered. Just because if it's not fully covered, then it could really stick to a dish depending what you use. And I know there are the bread baskets too with the cloth. So I'm making sure this is covered in flour, give it a nice little roll. So this part, you're gonna wanna take all the folded edges, which are on the top right now, facing the ceiling, and you're gonna wanna place it in here so it's still facing the ceiling. So this is the smooth side. Hello. This is the smooth side. And then this is the side with all the edges folded. We're leaving the edges towards the ceiling. And you're gonna put him in his little home for the next little bit. And all I use are these bags. They're just produce bags. And this is what I use to cover it in the fridge. You can use, well, we don't really have plastic grocery bags anymore. But I don't know, you can use whatever works best for you, but I find something that won't let it dry out. So this is perfect. So I just take this, I slide it inside, and I just put it like upside down so the edges are on the bottom. I do reuse the bags just because I don't love like environmental waste, and they are reusable. Once I'm done in the morning, it's a little bit damp inside, so I'll take them and I'll hang them up and I'll let them dry completely, and then I'll just put them away and use them next time. They're usually good for me until they rip, or of course, like if there was mold or something in them, you wouldn't use them, but like they dry really well. I hang them inside out, I should say, not upside down. I hang them inside out, let them dry, and then shake the flour off. So I'm just gonna plop this in the fridge. You're gonna put it in the fridge like normally on a work day for me. If I was doing this at 5:30 in the morning, I put it in the fridge as soon as you have this part done, and you're gonna let it sit the whole entire day and the whole entire night. So the next time I'll see you will be tomorrow morning. Just because I'm doing the 5 other loaves. I'll just show you what I do for the glass one too, just in case you were curious. So I'm doing the same steps I did before. So we have our dough there. We're just gonna do the quick folds to the middle. Make sure they're all tucked in, perfect. And then for the glass one, like I said, it sticks a lot more. So we're gonna slide this bad boy over, open this up. There's the spoon. And then this, like obviously this, or like with this one, you're not gonna get flour to stick to the edges because it's glass and it just slides everywhere. But with the silicone ones, they do stick, which is nice. So I'm gonna take this guy, everything's facing the ceiling. I just place it in there and give it a little roll just to make sure everything's covered. And then shake off the excess. There we go. And that's it. And then I'm gonna put him in here, cover it up, put it in the fridge. Good morning. So we already have 2 loaves made. It is, what time is it? Oh, there's no time anywhere right now. Does it really matter what time it is? 7:30 right now. We already have 2 loaves made, and then I have 2 in the oven right now. So what you're gonna wanna do first, you're gonna wanna preheat your oven to 430 degrees. And while it's preheating, you're going to want your Dutch ovens in the oven. I believe that's what they're called. So you want these guys in the oven with the lids on. I don't remember, I think I've tried to make them before in a cold pot. It's an important step to try to remember to put them in the oven before you preheat, so they're in there getting warm and toasty. Next step you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna get some parchment paper. And if you have one, a scoring knife. If you don't have one, that's okay too. And then I'll show you how they flip out. So when I'm making mine, I do have 2 Dutch ovens, so I have 2 on the go. It's just quicker because I usually make 6 at a time. So we have the bags, you're just gonna take it out of the bag. And then the next step, you're just gonna take this, and the folded edges are at the top, and you're gonna flip it. And then it comes out usually fairly easy. I can hear it, there we go. So then you can, depending if you have it or not, you can score it. So when I score it, I do simple, like there's lots of different things you can do. So when I do it, I do like an X and then little slits in the corner. I know there's other styles where I've done before where you kind of do like half circle, and then one down the middle. And then you can do like little slits like this. So it kind of is like, I don't know what it resembles. Maybe it reminds me of like somehow a leaf or something. I don't know. And then you switch your knife and go this way. But you don't need to get fancy. So that is one option. And then after this, we're gonna take this, you're gonna take out our pot, and you're gonna place this in the pot with the lid on top. I have this guy too. So I have the one in the glass, and this one I would show you, but I have nowhere to put it right now. It just comes out a little trickier. So when you flip it upside down, I just stick my fingers inside the corner and loosen it up like that, and then it'll eventually fall out. And I find too with the glass ones, it's not as like tight. I don't know how to describe it other than that word. Tight as like a top. So when I go to score it, it's a little trickier. Whereas this one, it's a little bit more tight. So then you can really see the patterns. It's much prettier when it's baked. So I'll give you a little example. So I'll just show you this one because I don't have an available pot. So what you're doing is you're taking the loaf, placing it inside, and then you're gonna put the lid on top. You're plopping it in the oven. So with your lid on top, you're gonna just plop it in the oven, and it's gonna go in there for 20 minutes with the lid on. Once the 20 minutes is done, you're gonna open up the oven, you're gonna make sure you use your glove, take the lid off, and then you're gonna put it in for 25 minutes without the lid on. So the oven's beeping, the bread is ready to come out of the oven. I'm taking the pot out. And then what I do immediately is, sorry it's loud, is I take this out, I slide it off the parchment paper. Once I slide it off the parchment paper, all I do is I place it on a cookie rack and I let it cool. It's nice just because then the bottom can like cool off too, and the parchment paper is not like suffocating it. And you can also just let it cool on the parchment paper if you want. It's totally up to you. And then once it's cool enough, we're gonna get ready to cut it and it'll be done. So I have 2 loaves done right now, and this is the pattern I was talking about. I should have done a bit of a nicer job because I was gonna show it on this one too. So it's just the cross down the middle, the little slits, and then it comes out how it comes out. It's been sitting out for probably 30 minutes now. So I find when you're going to cut it, it's nice to give it some time to cool first. I've made the mistake before where when you are cutting it and it's not cooled, the middle's a little bit gummy, and then you just did all that work, like 4 days of work for bread, and then you have like gummy cut bread. We don't love it. For knife recommendations for cutting, I do have this knife. Thank you, Shauna. Shauna got this for me. Her mom found this actually for a bread cutting knife. Her dad went and grabbed it, and it's in the tool section, I think of like Home Depot or something. It's meant to cut insulation. So this is an insulation knife. This is probably by far the best knife I've used for cutting. Usually the bottom of this is really hard to cut. Like the top is super smooth, you get to the bottom and you're kind of fighting with it a little. But for me, what I found is the most awesome, and not everybody would have one because it's like storing a big thing just for bread. I guess it's like a meat slicer as well, but it's my aunt's, and then she didn't make bread, so now I have it. And so this is a bread cutter or a meat cutter, and it's so nice. I find this slips everywhere, so I usually just go get some water, and then I wet 2 of the cups that it stays in place a little better. I guess you can wet all of them. So the cups are wet now, and they're staying in place. And I usually set this to like 16 or 17, so 16 and a half right now. And we're gonna cut it so you can check out what the middle looks like. And I check out the crumb so you can see. Nice. It's a beaut. But this is honestly my favorite for cutting because it gets through the bottom so nicely. I do find the hard part is at the last where it tends to rip, but it's okay. It's still all good. So we have there. Check out our crumb. It's just beautiful, nice bread. So when I am cutting it too soon, like I said, it's usually the middle pieces that'll get kind of gummy. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it looks almost like raw and it squishes together. It's not a good situation. Or I've had recipes in the past that I've used and the middle would be gummy and it didn't matter how long I waited. It just wasn't the best recipe. This is the best one I found, and I didn't even find. My friend Andrew found it and he shared it with me, and it was life-changing because I was making kind of like subpar bread for a while, and then this was a game changer. So now for storage of your bread, I've gone through a couple different things, like a beeswax cloth for storage on the counter. I just didn't love it. My favorite thing for storage is a Ziploc bag. If I am giving it to somebody else, I try to let the bread cool first, or else when you put it inside here, and even if it's not closed, just because there's not much room for stuff to move around, it kind of gets like sweaty, soggy, not soggy. I don't know how to explain it. I call it sweaty. It gets sweaty in there, and I just want the like top to stay nice and crisp. So what I do is I put it in my baggie, and I usually, if anything, I put it in the freezer the same day just because then it's more fresh to me. I already always have it cut before I put it in the freezer, and then I take out a slice as I need it. You can totally store it on the counter. I just like the feeling of having more fresh bread that I take out. And for the most part, I'm usually always toasting my bread. The first day is the best, and then I'll just eat a bunch of pieces by itself without anything. They make great croutons, they make great sandwiches, they make great everything. Anyway, hopefully this was a bit of a better video, and I could do a video on inclusions if anybody's interested. I hope I didn't forget anything. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.